I was accused of cheating by the woman I loved the most. For years, she said I was cold, distant, unfaithful, and I believed her. I blamed myself. I changed my entire life to prove that she could trust me. But it was all part of something much bigger. A silent, cruel plan, planned in detail by someone who knew my every weakness. And the truth only came to light when an unexpected person had the courage to show me what I would never have discovered on my own. This story is not just about betrayal. It's about the weight of carrying a guilt that was never yours. About how someone can destroy your self-esteem without raising their voice. And about how the truth, even when it comes too late, can still set you free. If you've ever been wrongly accused, if you've ever been in a relationship where you doubted yourself, this story is for you. Watch until the end, because the last thing she said to me changed everything. When you love someone for too long, you start to lose the ability to notice the little signs. Those subtle details that only make sense when it's too late. My name is Caio. I'm 38 years old. I'm a university professor and I lived for 8 years with the woman I believed was the love of my life. Her name was Marina. We met at a conference in Curitiba. She was a psychologist, spoke with a seductive calm, and the way she looked at me, as if she had known me for years. At first it seemed like magic. The conversation flowed, time disappeared, and within a month we were living together. It seemed too fast, but with Marina everything was like that. Intense, dizzying, and I dove in. For 2 years we were happy. At least, I thought we were. Candlelit dinners, last-minute trips, love notes hidden in my books. Then one day, everything changed. And it wasn't gradual. It was like someone had suddenly turned off the lights in our house. She started accusing me. At first, it was just small things. You took so long to reply to the message. Why did you leave your phone face down? Who is that student who liked your photo on Instagram? I laughed, trying to take it as a joke. I said she was exaggerating, but Marina didn't laugh back. The accusations grew. Then came the crying, the screaming, the nights sleeping in separate rooms. I tried to justify myself. I showed my cell phone, the history, the messages. Nothing was enough. She said I was cold, that my guilt was in my eyes. And the worst part is that I started to doubt myself. Marina was persuasive. She used impeccable arguments. It was as if she saw lies where there was only routine. Sometimes I would be watching a recorded class, and she would invade the office, asking who the woman I was hiding in the audio was. I started to close myself off. I started to distance myself from my friends. Not because they were a problem, but because everything became a reason for her to be suspicious. A coffee with a colleague. Reason for a fight. A call from my mother that lasted more than 10 minutes. I bet you're seeing someone and you're hiding it. We even went to couples therapy. Marina played the victim with such ease that it left me stunned. In front of the therapist, she cried and said she was afraid of losing me. That she loved me too much, and that was why she acted like that. And on the way home, she apologized and said she just needed me to prove my love. I started trying to please her in every way. I would come home from work early. I would change my clothes to avoid the strange perfume. I would stop following colleagues on social media. But it didn't matter. The list of demands just kept growing, and the love that had once been light now weighed like lead in my chest. One night, I woke up to find her sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at me. You were dreaming about her, weren't you? I could barely think straight. With whom, Marina? With the woman you're cheating on. You whispered her name in your sleep. I heard it. My body froze. Because I had indeed dreamed, but I couldn't remember names. And even if I had, that was insane. But for the first time, I didn't argue. I just closed my eyes and pretended to fall asleep again. Because arguing was pointless. That same week, my sister Clara called me. She said she was worried about me, that my tone of voice was different. She said I sounded like a prisoner in a life that was no longer mine. I almost cried on the phone, but I denied it. I told her everything was fine. It was easier that way, until something happened. One day, Marina forgot her cell phone at home. She always took it with her, even to the bathroom. But that day, perhaps by accident or distraction, the device was left on the sofa. I hesitated. For a second, I thought opening her phone would be disrespecting her privacy. Even with everything she put me through, I still respected her. But then, the cell phone vibrated. It was a WhatsApp notification. A name I had never seen before, Rafaela. And the preview of the message simply said, "Are you going to tell him, or do you want me to?" My heart raced. It was as if the ground had cracked beneath my feet. For a moment, I thought there had been some misunderstanding. Some friend of hers, perhaps. But when I unlocked the phone, because she had left facial recognition turned on, what I saw there changed everything. Photos, audio messages, statements, conversations that went back more than a year. Places she said she was with me, but she was with this Rafaela. And then among all the messages, a sentence that burned inside me. "You need to keep making him believe he's the traitor. It's the safest way." At that moment, I understood. I was never the traitor. I was the alibi, but the worst was yet to come. Because the person who would explain all of that to me wouldn't be Rafaela, nor Marina. It would be someone I never imagined. I stood there, standing in the middle of the room, with my phone in my hand, as if I were holding a grenade without a pin. The words still flashed on the screen, like a repeated whisper in my ear. "You need to keep making him believe he's the traitor." My mind tried to deny it. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a joke between friends, maybe something out of context, maybe... But the pictures didn't lie. There were images of Marina with Rafaela in places she swore she hated. Rustic inns, alternative festivals, trails. She said she hated the countryside, that she would never camp. And there she was, smiling next to a woman she described as an old college friend who became a holistic therapist and traveled to Australia. The audio messages were even worse. Complicit laughter, plans, complaints about me, about how he's too predictable. He doesn't even notice what's going on around him, and you can play with him like a board game. At that moment, the feeling was not anger. It was a shame. Shame on me, for having let myself be deceived for so long, for having blamed myself, bowed down, disfigured myself in the name of something that no longer existed, perhaps never existed. I sat on the couch, cell phone still in hand, and began to cry, quietly, alone, almost breathless. It wasn't a cry of pain, it was a cry of deconstruction, as if everything I believed to be solid had turned to dust. Minutes later, I heard the key turn in the door. She walked in, smiling. "Hi, honey." I forgot my cell phone. When she saw me with the device in my hands, her smile died in the air. She froze. For a second, the world froze. "Did you go through my cell phone?" "Yes." Silence. She approached slowly, her eyes searching my expression for clues. But I was empty. I just held out my phone, already unlocked, with the conversation open. "Do you want to explain to me what this is?" She swallowed hard. She tried to compose herself. "You don't understand. It's not what it seems." The classic phrase. So cliché it almost made me laugh, but what came out was a tired sigh. "Since when?" She hesitated. "Caio." "Since when, Marina?" "Almost 2 years." 2 years. I took a step back. It was as if the air had been knocked out of the room. "So while you were accusing me of everything, I felt alone. You were always at work, always tired, distant, because I was trying to maintain a relationship that you were destroying behind your back." She tried to justify herself, but nothing made sense. Nothing would cleanse the blood from my soul. "And you still told her that I was the perfect alibi?" I finished. holding back my anger so as not to scream. That's when she exploded. You never saw anything. You thought the world revolved around you. That all you had to do was be home at 6 o'clock, and that was it. A great husband. I needed more. I needed someone who would really see me. So why didn't you break up with me? She didn't answer. Because the truth was simple. She needed me as a facade. To maintain stability, comfort, status. The good man to introduce to her parents. And the mysterious woman to live the hidden adrenaline. I stared at her for long seconds. And then I just said, I want you out of here. Today. She tried to argue, she cried, she begged, but I was somewhere else, somewhere where the love I felt for her had been torn out by the roots. That night, Marina left. He took some clothes and left behind the heaviest silence that has ever inhabited my house. The next few days were anesthesia. I was on autopilot. I would go to class, come back, eat whatever I wanted, sleep badly. My classmates noticed. My sister would call me every day, and I would say, I'm recovering. But the truth is that I didn't understand anything. I didn't understand how someone could lie so masterfully, how they could fake tears, anxiety attacks, everything, to hide their own guilt. I relived every fight, every argument, and now I saw the script behind every word. A month has passed until I received a message in my institutional email. It was from a student, one who barely spoke to me. Discreet. She always sat in the last rows. The subject was simple. About your ex-eyes, Marina. We need to talk. That froze me. I responded immediately. We arranged to meet for coffee inside the university. When she arrived, she seemed nervous. Her name was Bianca. She must have been about 23, and she was carrying a folder, paper, old tests. I thought it was strange. She sat down, took a deep breath and began. Professor, I heard that you broke up with Marina. I didn't know how to tell you before. But she tried to involve me in something that hurt me a lot. And maybe you need to know about that. I stared at her, not understanding. Involve how? She opened the folder, and there they were. Screenshots. Messages from Marina. From 2 months before the end. Messages in which she asked the girl to approach me, start a conversation, compliment my outfit, flirt discreetly, and then take screenshots of our conversations and send them to her. Marina wanted false evidence. I wanted to fabricate the betrayal. I never replied to the messages, but she was so insistent. She said it would hurt me if I told anyone. And then I got scared. But now, seeing everything that happened, I thought you deserved to know. My hand shook as I leafed through the papers. It was like diving deeper into the abyss. Marina didn't just betray me. She engineered my guilt with surgical precision. Bianca continued. I just didn't go ahead with it because I have principles, but other girls might have accepted. She knew how to manipulate. At that moment, the puzzle was complete. All the strange looks on campus, the crooked smiles, the whispers. Marina was trying to destroy me, publicly and psychologically. And if it weren't for Bianca, I would never have known. That night, when I came back from having coffee with Bianca, I couldn't sleep. I replayed the entire conversation in my head dozens of times, as if every sentence she said was being burned into my memory. Marina wasn't just an unfaithful woman. She was meticulous, cold, capable of turning her own victim into a villain. And if Bianca hadn't been aware, if she hadn't refused, I might have been morally lynched for a guilt I never committed. For the first time, I felt real fear. Don't be afraid of Marina, but fear of how far someone like her would go to avoid being unmasked. The next day, I woke up to the phone ringing. It was my sister. Caio, there's something I need to tell you. The sentence gave me goosebumps. She had always been discreet, respected my marriage, and avoided taking sides in arguments. But now, the tone of her voice was different, loud, firm. What it was. Marina looked for me last night. What? She came to my house. She said she wanted to talk. She came with a gift for my son. She tried to get closer. And then she started saying that you were disturbed, that you had lost your mind, that you could put your career at risk if you didn't go to therapy. I was speechless. I didn't know what to say, Caio. But when she left, I could only think of one thing. She's not trying to explain herself. She's trying to rebuild her image before the truth comes out. She was trying to isolate me, discredit me, planting the idea that I was mentally unstable. And if that stuck, nothing I said later would have any value. There's one more thing, my sister said hesitantly. Remember Rafaela? The name chilled me again. Yes, I met her, without knowing who she was. She used to be my gym buddy. We even went out for coffee a few times. But she never brought up the subject of you, or Marina. But once, she said she was in love with someone who was married, but didn't know it. Only now have I put it all together. My whole body froze. And did she say anything else? No, but she works in a design co-working space near the university. You should go there. I hung up with my head pounding. I felt like I was living inside a dark script written by invisible hands. But now I could see the gears. And I wasn't going to pretend I didn't see them anymore. The next afternoon, I went to the address my sister had given me. I sat in a cafe across the street and watched the action. At 5:43 p.m., I saw a woman come out through the glass door. Curly hair, a tattoo on her left shoulder. It was her, Rafaela. She seemed calm. She smiled at her colleagues, put on her headphones, and started walking. I got up, crossed the street, and called, "Rafaela?" She turned her face away. For a moment, she didn't recognize me. Then her eyes widened. "Caio, we can talk?" She hesitated. She looked around. She took off her headphones. "Do you know me?" "Just from what I saw in the messages you exchanged with Marina." Her face lost its color. We were silent for a few seconds, and then she whispered, "Damn." We went into a discreet cafe, and there, without beating around the bush, Rafaela told me everything. "I never knew she was still with you. Never. Marina told me she was separated, that you lived in another city, that you were just sorting out the divorce. I believed her. I believed her because I fell in love with her." Her voice was shaking, but it was sincere. "When I found out you were still living together, I wanted to disappear, but she always had a new explanation. That you were abusive, that she was trying to get out of the relationship safely, that you had a history of cheating and outbursts." She looked me in the eyes, visibly regretful. "Caio." I only continued because I was blind. But when I saw that she was trying to manipulate another girl to get closer to you in fake betrayal, I left. I cut contact. I blocked everything. My heart was beating wildly. "Did you know that?" she said, laughing. She said it was a psychological test. If it worked, she would be able to leave the relationship as a victim, and even expose you publicly as a traitor. It was disgusting. I felt like an accomplice in a circus. She paused. "That's why I disappeared. But now, if you need anything, any testimony, I'm willing to tell you everything." I left there with a mixture of relief and disgust. I didn't hate Rafaela. She was just another piece of Marina's gear. But now I had proof. 2 witnesses, screenshots, dates, connections. And most importantly, I had the truth on my side. The next day I looked for a lawyer. I didn't want revenge. I wanted protection and justice. We started the process to dissolve the civil union. We requested a precautionary measure to prevent any attempt at defamation. My lawyer advised, document everything, including conversations with witnesses. But what I didn't expect was that Marina would appear again. 2 weeks later, at 10 o'clock at night, she knocked on my apartment door. I thought about not opening it, but I opened it. Her eyes were red, and she was visibly distraught. "I lost everything, Caio. Rafaela reported me at her workplace. I was expelled from the Therapists Association. My parents found out about everything. My image is gone. I remained silent. But you'll lose too if you keep this up. The threat didn't scare me. I already lost Marina, but now at least I know what I lost. She tried to come in. I interrupted. He finished. She stopped. She put her hand on the door. She looked at me one last time. You will never understand what I went through, and you will never understand what you destroyed. I closed the door. Inside, silence returned. But this time, it was a peaceful silence. The days after our last meeting were strangely quiet. I received no more messages, calls, or summons. Marina seemed to have disappeared from the map. But inside me, something still burned. It wasn't pain or anger anymore. It was the nagging feeling that the story wasn't over yet. I struggled back into my routine. The classes distracted me. The students, who didn't know anything, acted normally, which helped me reconnect. I went back to having lunch with my sister Clara and playing with my nephew for the first time in months without feeling guilty. But even amidst the laughter, a question kept nagging at me. How much of my life was real? It was in this rhythm, between reconstruction and emptiness, that a new clue emerged. I was at Clara's house, helping her put together a bookshelf for little Pedro's room, when she came out of the kitchen with a hesitant expression, holding a spiral notebook. Caio, I found this at the back of the pantry cupboard. I think you should see it. I picked up the notebook. It was a diary. Marina's. My blood ran cold. How did this get here? Do you remember that weekend when you two fought and she spent a few days here at my house? I think she forgot about it, and it was kept there until now. I never read it, but when I saw your name scrawled on the cover, I thought maybe it was important. I sat down on the couch and opened it. The first few pages were ordinary, loose notes, shopping lists, motivational phrases. But from the 10th page onwards, reality changed color. She described meetings with Rafaela, details, dates, sensations. But the worst was in the final stretch. Today, I convinced his sister to believe that he is unwell. I used the same tone I used when I made him believe that girl from graduate school was hitting on him. They are so easy to manipulate when they feel guilty. My hands were shaking. She wasn't just manipulating me, she was trying to undermine my own sister. Clara looked at me with wide eyes, not understanding. Did she really write that? Yes. She was using you, Clara, to isolate me even further. The shock was mutual. Clara sat down, silent. We stood there, paralyzed, digesting the poison that was spreading even after Marina's departure. It affected not only me, but everyone around me. It made my sister doubt my sanity. It created alternative versions of reality. I began to connect dots that had previously seemed loose. The friends who had drifted away without explanation. The dinner invitations that had disappeared. The muffled laughter in the hallways. She hadn't just destroyed a relationship. She had tried to destroy my reputation, my name, my very essence. At that moment, an idea came to my mind. I opened my laptop and searched for Marina on social media. Nothing. Her profile was deleted, but a deeper search revealed that she had been reported to the ethics committee of her professional category. 2 patients claimed that she invaded private conversations, used intimate information to manipulate them, and even tried to force emotional bonds under the pretext of treatment. It was much worse than I imagined. I called my lawyer. He advised me to hand over the diary, document it, register it, and get ready. He said, she might try one last move. Those who live like this don't accept losing. That same night, as I was walking to my garage, I noticed a car parked across the street. Tinted windows, engine off. But as I approached, it slowly pulled away. The same car appeared 2 nights later in the university parking lot. Was it paranoia? Or was Marina really trying to keep an eye on me? I didn't want to live in fear, but I couldn't ignore the signs either. Until a week later, I received an envelope at home. No sender. Inside it, there was just a sheet of paper with a single sentence. "If you continue, I'll tell everyone what you did to that student." My heart stopped for a moment, but I knew nothing happened to any student. This was yet another attempt to muzzle me. But now I was different, and at that exact moment, I decided that Marina was no longer going to control the script. I would answer, with truths, with evidence, and with courage. But first, I needed to understand who put this envelope on my doorstep. And the only clue I had was someone who had never spoken to me directly, but who knew too much. I stood in front of the door for minutes with the note in my hand, feeling the weight of that single sentence echo like a sentence. "If you continue, I will tell everyone what you did to that student." The attempt at blackmail was clear, but there was something even more disturbing about that paper. The calligraphy. I had seen that letter before. It wasn't Marina's, and that was even more worrying. I took the note to my sister, who compared it with Marina's old notebook. The writing didn't match. They weren't even similar. That could only mean one thing. Marina had an accomplice. And maybe this accomplice was closer than I imagined. I started mentally running through all the people who could be involved. Co-workers, neighbors, her friends, my friends. It was then that someone came to mind who, until that moment, I had completely discarded. Rodrigo, my best friend since college, best man at my wedding, confidant through all my ups and downs. Someone who always said, "Forget it, Caio, Marina loves you, she's just intense." And who, now that I thought about it, always avoided confronting the truth about her. I remembered a night when we went out drinking, months before the breakup. I had opened up about the crises, the accusations, the humiliations, and Rodrigo had said something that at the time didn't sound strange to me. "You're strong for putting up with all this, man. She's a little off, but maybe she just needs someone who understands her better." That sentence now sounded different. Accomplice, disguised, sneaky. The next afternoon, I went to the building where he lived. As I opened the elevator door and went up to his floor, a strange feeling enveloped me. Intuition is not proof, but sometimes it screams louder than any evidence. I rang the bell. He opened it with the same smile as always. "Caio, you finally came to visit me, brother. I need to talk to you, seriously." We walked in. The room was too tidy. Freshly brewed coffee, as if he knew I would show up. "About Marina, right? I heard about it through there. Is everything okay? I got this here." I took the note out of my pocket and handed it over. Rodrigo read it and tried not to show anything. But I saw the microsecond in which his pupil dilated. "And what do I have to do with this? Your handwriting is the same. You're kidding, right? I have proof. And what's more, if I take this to the experts, they will confirm it. So tell me now, Rodrigo, what do you have to do with Marina?" Silence, far away. And then he sat on the couch, ran his hands over his face and said, "It wasn't supposed to go this far." My head spun. "What?" "She came to me. It's been over a year. She said she was unhappy, that she wanted to get away from it all, but that she needed time. I just tried to help. But she started getting involved with me in a way that I didn't even realize." "Did you have something with her?" "No, at least not like you think. We never had anything physical, but emotionally, she held me captive. She made me feel important. And at the same time, she told me that you were unstable, that you could do something stupid. She asked me for help to monitor you. She said she needed to protect herself." My stomach turned. "And you agreed to that?" "At first I thought I was helping, that I was protecting you, but then I realized it was pure manipulation. But by then it was too late. She threatened me too. She said that if I told her anything, she would release some of my old conversations. She would ruin me. I sat down. Silence filled the room. Rodrigo looked at me with tired eyes. I was an idiot, Caio, but I never really wanted to hurt you. She played with our heads. I took a deep breath. Part of me wanted to scream, to break something, but the other part just wanted to get it over with. Do you know anything else? Rodrigo hesitated. Then he went to the closet, took out a box, and from inside it, took out a pen drive. She gave this to me. She said I should use it if you tried to expose her. I never saw the contents. I was scared. But it's yours. I picked up the flash drive. My hands were sweating. When I got home, I connected it to my laptop. I opened the only file present. It was a recording. Video. Marina sitting in front of a camera with a calm expression. If you're watching this, Caio, it's because you've decided to try to end me. But before you try to clear your name, think about it. I know everything about you, your accesses, your passwords, your students. I know where you eat lunch. I know where you dream. If you force me, I'll take you down with me. It was a registered threat. But what she didn't know is that by recording that, she had just produced her own confession. And what's more, the video was inside a device given to her by one of her accomplices. I had everything I needed, or almost everything. There was one last piece missing, and it appeared in the form of a message. Out of nowhere, my cell phone vibrated. It was from an unknown number. If you really want to know what she did with your name, look for Professor Orlando from the postgraduate course. He was forced to remain silent. I had no idea who that number belonged to, but I knew exactly who Orlando was, and what he had to tell me would completely change the course of my life. The next morning, the anonymous message was still echoing in my head. Look for Professor Orlando from the graduate school. I knew him by sight, a reserved man, always with a low voice, not very involved in the university gossip. I never imagined he had any connection with Marina. But after everything I had discovered, no name surprised me anymore. I waited until the end of the day to approach him, when the movement in the academic corridor had died down. I went to the room where he usually corrected tests, knocked twice and entered. Orlando raised his eyes slowly, with the air of someone seeing the world through frosted glass. Professor Caio, good evening. I need to talk to you. It's about Marina. He slowly closed the notebook in front of him. The silence that followed was like that of a confessional about to explode. Sit down. I obeyed. He folded his hands on the table and stared into space for a moment, as if searching for strength. I thought this day would never come, he murmured. But I confess, I was waiting. Did you know anything? I was a victim, Caio. The revelation hit me hard. Like this? Marina worked as a research assistant on a project I coordinated 2 years ago. We had a good relationship at the beginning. She was intelligent and dedicated. But she started crossing boundaries. She accessed documents without permission, changed schedules, manipulated data to make it seem like she was delivering more than she actually did. Orlando got up, went to the closet, and took out a folder with printed documents, old protocols, and reports with handwritten corrections. When I confronted her, she freaked out. She said that if I said anything, she would make up that I was harassing students, that she had screenshots, witnesses, everything set up. It was a lie, of course, but she spoke with such certainty that I kept quiet. I asked to leave the project. I pretended to have personal problems, and the university covered it up with a formal statement. He handed me a paper, his official request for leave. She destroyed my trust, and I know she tried to do the same with other colleagues. She started spreading rumors about me, insinuating things, never directly, always in the shadows. Until one day, she disappeared from the department. I never saw her again, but I knew she was with you. And I feared for you, Caio, a lot. My eyes burned. Orlando looked at me with real compassion. You weren't the first, but maybe you're the last, because now she doesn't have the same safety net anymore. Would you be willing to report this officially? He took a deep breath. If it's to stop her from destroying anyone else, yes, I'm ready. That night, I returned home carrying a briefcase full of evidence and a heavy heart knowing there were more victims. Marina was not just a woman with emotional problems, she was a social predator, intelligent, charming, and destructive. I prepared the dossier with my lawyer. He advised us to bring everything together, screenshots of the conversation with Rafaela, Bianca's testimony, the diary, the video on the pen drive, and now, Orlando's formal complaint. With this, we could file a lawsuit against her for moral damages, defamation, emotional abuse, and professional manipulation. But on the eve of sending everything to court, I had a dream. In the dream, I was in the middle of an empty room, shouting to an invisible crowd. I showed the evidence, I told the truth, I demanded justice, but no one listened, no one reacted, and in the back of the room, Marina watched, smiling, because in the dream, she still controlled the narrative. I woke up in a cold sweat. I spent hours sitting in the dark, thinking, what did I really want? Justice or peace? Because sometimes a battle won still leaves us in pieces. My phone rang. It was my sister. Caio, you need to see this. She sent me a link. Marina had posted a video on a new profile. She talked about an abusive relationship she had been in for years. She used vague phrases, no direct accusations, but her tone was clear. She was playing the victim. There were already hundreds of comments, support, shares, new followers. She was trying to rebuild her image before the truth came out. I closed the notebook. I went to the balcony. The sun was beginning to rise. I took the evidence folder and placed it on the table. My mind was heavy as lead, but something inside me already knew what to do. I couldn't save my image, not completely. There would always be those who doubted, who didn't read the evidence, who preferred to believe the more theatrical version. But I could save something else. My soul. That morning, I chose not to respond with hate. I chose not to file a public lawsuit. But I made sure to protect everyone who might be affected. I confidentially turned the material over to the university's legal department in a confidential manner. I put it on record, and I removed myself from the line of fire. I would leave the version war to her. My truth was already documented, and my freedom was back. Or so I thought, until the day I found on my doorstep a small sealed box with no sender. Inside there was only a flash drive and a message. You don't know how much I still hid from you. The box was simple, raw cardboard, unmarked with no sender. Inside it was the second flash drive I had received in less than a month, and a note with a single sentence. You don't know how much I've hidden from you. I sat on the couch alone, my heart pounding as if I were waiting for an earthquake. I hesitated for several minutes before connecting the pen drive to the notebook. The screen flashed, a single file, video. The name was Caio Verdade MP4. I pressed play. The image appeared blurry at first. Marina. She looked different. Her face was haggard, her makeup smudged, as if she had recorded it in the middle of a fit or a moment of real despair. In the background, an unfamiliar room, maybe a hotel, maybe a shelter. It didn't matter. She began to speak in a shaky voice. If you're seeing this, it's because I've finally accepted that I lost. And maybe I never had the right to win. She sighed deeply and then looked straight into the camera. Caio, I lied about almost everything. And what I didn't lie about, I distorted. I accused you, I hurt you, I isolated you. Not only because I wanted to protect myself, but because I wanted you to feel the same insecurity that I've carried since before you, since forever. She wiped her face with her hands. What I never told you is that my story doesn't start with you. It starts with someone who destroyed everything I had when I was 17. A teacher, a manipulator, someone who made me believe that love was synonymous with control. The silence that followed was crushing. When I met you, I saw in you the opportunity to be the version he never let me be. But with time, the old Marina came back, and I started testing you, molding you, trying to prove that you were bad too, that no one was truly good. Because if you were good, then the problem was only mine. And that, I couldn't stand it. She choked on her tears. I'm not trying to justify what I did, nor ask for forgiveness. I just want you to know that among all the lies, there was one thing that was real. I loved you. I just didn't know how. The camera shook. If you want to report me, do it. I deserve it. But don't let my darkness extinguish the light that you still have inside you. And before closing, she muttered one last sentence. Thank you for trying to save me, even when I had already given up on myself. The image has faded. The silence that followed was not empty. It was heavy, deep, as if her words had penetrated my skin and touched something I no longer recognized in myself. Compassion. I closed my laptop. I stood up. I walked to the window. The street was still alive. People were passing by. The world was spinning, and for the first time in many months, I didn't want to go back in time anymore. Marina was not a monster. She was a broken person, full of inner monsters. And me? I had broken too. But, unlike her, now I was starting to rebuild myself. In the days that followed, I didn't publish the video. I didn't expose it. I kept it, with respect, because the truth was no longer a weapon. It was a key that opened a door that I never had the courage to cross, the door of the definitive end. I returned to teaching with ease. I reconnected with old contacts. I wrote letters that I never sent. I started listening more. I slept better. And for the first time in years, the house felt like a home. One day, while walking through a park near the university, I saw a young woman reading alone on a bench. She smiled at me. I smiled back. She didn't know anything about my story, but maybe one day I would tell her. Perhaps. For now, I just wanted to live in the present, because everything that came before that was necessary for me to understand that it is not enough to love someone. You have to love with truth, with health, with freedom. And above all, no one can accuse you of a crime you didn't commit without it leaving a mark, but marks also heal. And this, I decided to turn it into a story. Leave your comment below. Have you ever been accused of something you didn't do? How did you deal with it? Subscribe to the channel for more moving and true stories that can transform the way you see the world.